Right, so last week, the Taxi World thing.
Yeah, Jump Fest.
Is that what they're calling it? Jump Fest.
Jump Fest. It was really last minute, and it was all about the tariff originally, so that you update your meter for the increase on your tariff.
Yeah.
But it was a good opportunity to get drivers down to talk, learn about the app, how it works, what the charges are, loads of different information. Get the ads on the back of the seats. I think we got through about 2,000 cabs, so we got ads on about 2,000 cabs, which was hard work, but I think it's worth doing, because that's how we're getting customers. That's how we're winning customers off the corporates.
Yeah,
it's important, and yeah, I mean, it's the most talked about thing in the trade right now. It's a little bit of division there, but there always is when new things come in. There's always people that think that certain things are going to happen, think the worst of it. Can understand that, because we've been down these roads, haven't we, where the roads go into certain other roads, right?
Yeah.
And I get why people are annoyed about it, and seeing my involvement as well. What's he trying to sell us? I understand why people think like that, because I've got involved with other projects before that haven't worked out. But I feel like,
you got to keep trying, though, haven't you?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
You got to keep trying. There's nothing
and
wrong
if you
with
make
trying.
a mistake,
and the thing is, there's
own
nothing. Yeah, you got to. If you make a mistake, you've got to hold your hands up and say I was wrong.
Yeah, I always do. I always have, and that's how I was brought up.
But so for those drivers out there that don't know about Taxi World, I did try to explain it in the previous video that I did, and the Jump app.
Yeah.
Maybe you can put a different sort of perspective on it, shall we say?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say spin, because I think that's the
no.
wrong
I'll
word.
just tell you
a
how I
different
see it.
perspective from your point of view as a fleet operator and a driver, because I've just met you. You just stopped working.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cabs there. I've always had their meters in my cabs. I've used other suppliers as well, but I've always found them to be the most professional outfit that cover everything. And the system that they've got has been built up over time. I mean, obviously they had CMT before.
Yeah.
That system was clunky, and it didn't really. It had a system in there before, which was called Arrow. Do you remember Arrow?
Yeah.
Which did a similar thing, but I don't think it was promoted, and it wasn't. It didn't have the coolness factor of this app.
So,
this app's cool.
So was it Taxi World that were promoting the Arrow app, or
they weren't really? They didn't really promote it. They didn't push it.
But it was them that was involved with it.
They had the license to fit CMT. So, Jill went out to America and met them out there. They're an American company, and brought the system back to the UK. I think it was in yellow cabs, and fitted up thousands of cabs in London, and there's still thousands of cabs, I believe, that have CMT in. But it didn't go well for one reason or another, and Taxi World devised their own system, and I think it was always in the back of their mind that they wanted to have an app. I think they tried to do an app maybe 15, 16 years ago, but then Halo came along.
Jill did say about Appacab, and I remember Appacab.
Right.
I remember.
There's been lots of apps, hasn't there? Yeah. And this is why I understand why. And I was like, when she first told me about it and pitched it to me, I was like, please don't do an app. You'll lose so much money. Drivers won't embrace it. There's too many apps already. They're all in debt. Don't do it. Because I really like Jill. I really like the family. They're very nice people, and I just didn't want them to lose. I didn't want them to lose the battle. It's a massive battle, and it's a money pit. Because you've got to invest so much money to get users on the app, and to get drivers to believe in it, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, don't do it, please don't do it. No, we want you to help us. Like, you've been around the circuit, you know everybody, blah blah blah. This is how it's going to work. And when she explained it to me, how it all works, how it fits in the cab, how it works, and the most important thing for me, and she laughs at this, the way it works with the meter.
Yeah.
I think that's so important because it engages with the taxi meter. No other app does that. It knows when you're POB. They know when you're ignition on, applying for hire. They know when you're ignition on, meter off. That's when you get offered jobs. You either get offered jobs meter off, ignition on, or meter applying for hire. Once you've engaged the meter POB, you're off the algorithm. For me, that's so important because when you're working the normal apps, they're pinging off all over the place and your POB, and it doesn't provide efficiency to the customer.
No.
At all. Because they think you're available. They're looking on their phone, they're going, look how many cabs there are, I can't get a cab. Whereas this app shows the 5 nearest cabs that are available.
See, that's one of the things that I've always, when these apps say, oh, if you reject too many jobs, you'll get suspended and all that, when they was going through that sort of stage. And I always used to think, who's best placed to know whether they can get to that customer in a timely manner? And it's the driver. Yeah. And if I don't feel I'm going to get to that customer in a timely manner, I'm going to reject the job.
Yes.
Because I don't see the point in making that customer wait, or me driving to that customer and taking such a long time to get there that by the time I get there, they've held a passing cab.
Or they're once they've got in a cab, they're flustered because they're going to be late.
Yeah.
You don't want to let them down.
No.
So you'd only want to be 2 to 3 minutes from each job.
Yeah.
Because ideally you want to be hailed. You want to be hailed, like the ideal job is arms out. But that's not where we are anymore.
We're not there anymore because people have been conditioned, especially the younger generation, into using apps. You've got to remember that people in general are lazy.
Yeah.
And we can all look at ourselves, and we're all lazy. We all the food
we
to
all
be
use
delivered
apps.
to our house.
Yeah.
We use we don't go to the shops anymore. We order things online to be delivered to home, and the same with taxis. Why do I want to go and stand out in the cold and pouring down the rain when I come out of a restaurant when I can just pick up my phone and do that?
And it's just not how it is. And I don't know what the percentage of work that we have on app compared to street, but I'd say it would be a lot different to what it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like cash and card.
Yeah.
This is the other thing about this app. It's not after your cash.
Yeah.
Look, I'm hands up here. I'm not part of the company. I'm not employed by the company, so I can't tell you how long that's going to be like that for. If I believe it will be forever. I believe, because I believe in it.
Well, I think if it isn't, if they go back on what they've said, because I asked Lorenzo and I asked Jill the question, is this going to be the same? Yes. And if you go back on it, you're just going to, people stop using it.
And I think so. And
although I'll say that, they're still using the others that are charging a lot higher commissions. So, I don't know. I hope that they, I like to take people on their word. And I think if you talk to someone and they give you their word that it's going to stay the same, that I'd like to think that they've got the integrity to stick to that.
And there'll be people watching this going, oh, here he goes again, selling this, selling that, and you can't trust him and whatever. But, I just see things as they come along and I want to see the best in them. And that's just the way I am. I want to see, when Halo, the first thing I did when I got my badge was walk over and I signed up for Halo, because at the time it was a taxi app. You see what I mean? And it was 10%, and that was kind of palatable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I knew that the customer wanted it, and I wanted to do what the customer wanted to do.
Yeah.
Then things change, that other apps come along with the best intentions, and I wanted to support them whichever way they went, but it didn't please everyone. You can't please everyone. It's very difficult. And of course, these apps get sold to customers. You get your seats. They get sold to customers. The customer will buy into it because he trusts the cab driver. Cab drivers sell things really well because they're trustworthy. Most cab drivers are very trustworthy and decent people. They'll sell this download. The customer will use it with good intention. The cab won't come.
Yeah.
And that's where they've all fallen over.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it's got coverage. It had the coverage before the app came out. That was a very good move.
I think the thing, I've spoken to a few passengers in the cab since last week.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've spoken to are interested in it because it's not going to cost them any more. You know, there's no booking fees on top. There's no technology fees on top. You know, there's no surge pricing on it and things like that. Is whatever the meter is, that's what they're going to pay. And you know, listen, it might sound like I'm trying to sell it now, but I ain't even on Taxi World. I've got Cab Vision fitted in the back of the cab. So,
and this is another thing I've seen all this week. It's divisive because I've got a different machine. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
The thing is, you know, I've been reading what you know, some of the comments on social media and people saying, "Oh, I don't believe that we cab drivers should be paying
Do you think they
the
sound
credit
like
card fees." Yeah, I think they do. But listen, at the end of the day, right? So I'm going to say something. Go out and get your own merchant account and your own machine and see how much it costs you then. Because believe me, it's going to cost you a lot more than what any of these are charging you. Yeah, whether you know, it'll cost you more than 5%.
Because you're a single entity. Yeah.
And if you're trying to process an American Express card, you could be paying as much as 7.5% on an Amex card, plus 50 pence per transaction, plus VAT on all of that, plus the rental for the machine as well.
Or you buy it for 500, 600, 700 pound. I mean,
so you know, you can't expect. You walk into a shop and you don't go in there and the shopkeeper says to you, "You want to buy a Mars bar and pay for it with your card." He doesn't say, "Well, it's like 90p if you pay cash, and it's £1.05 if you're going to pay on your card." I know that did happen a few years ago, but nowadays it doesn't happen. So you can't expect the customer to pay the charges, because at the end of the day they're going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, you know, people want to use their handhelds, rightly or wrongly. They use cheaper systems, whatever, you know. No one's standing here saying you've got to change your system. But if you want to be on it, unfortunately for you, if you've got to split your loyalty sometimes and try something new. You know, it's like when the TXE came out. I've seen the same people, a sea of them, complaining then about the TXE. Like, oh, this is that and that. You can't do PCP and you can't do this finance and you shouldn't be doing that. And this will never last, and you're dividing the trade. And we're here now with, you know, nearly 10,000 TXEs on the road. Even yourself, we're sitting in one now, you know.
Yeah, you was looking at me when you said that.
I know. I had to. But you know what I mean? It's like the same people. I mean, one or two of them that are talking about this, they're on their second and third TXEs.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never change and blah. No one's expecting you to change, but the benefits are there if you want them. Yeah. You know, I wasn't on the system. I was on other systems, a different system, and you know what I realised was it was the best system for my business and my drivers. You know, a lot of my drivers were doing the maths when I changed over, and they were like, no. But then when they realised how the tipping system algorithm works and how it tips you and sells the tip for you, you don't have to do anything, because you get different customers, don't you? You'll get customers that will get in your cab and they'll be chatting to you and they'll really like you and they'll go, "Hello, Paul, da. And you'll be like, sweet, and they'll go, "I want to put so and so on," and you'll say, "Right, you can do this to put 15% on, or you can give me or whatever." Then you'll get another customer who'll get in, nut down, phone, can't wait to get out of the cab, and they'll see that button and go, beep.
Yeah.
Auto tip, basically. It's an auto tip, and then they get out. So you're getting tips off both sets of people. Yeah. You know.
See, what I'm finding, I mean, listen, I'm with Cab Vision. I'm happy with Cab Vision.
It's a good system.
You know, and he's probably, out of all of them out there, he's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm finding with the tip situation on it is you get, would you like to leave a tip, yes or no? And you either get the people that press yes and give you a decent tip. The vast majority now are pressing the X.
Yes.
And pressing no.
You need to be more approachable, Jamie. You need to stop grunting, mate. But you know what I mean, though. Like this system is the opposite. It doesn't bully the customer. There's nothing wrong with it.
Coerces them into
That's the
giving
word.
A tip.
That's the word I was looking for. It coerces
them into
it
giving
does.
a tip rather
it does.
than rather than not giving you a tip, they have to go through a number of options to refuse to give you a tip.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll get 5 people in or 6 people. Like the other day, I had 6 people in, and one of them's giving me a tip on the machine, and the other geezer's giving me a note. And I'm like, no, you've already tipped me. He said, no, it's all right. It's from me. But it was an old £10 note. Yeah. So it was all right. I'll take it back.
Bank,
yeah.
I had a couple yesterday from the airport.
Yeah.
Very, very old posh couple.
Yeah.
From Aberdeen. And they was going to the Sloane Club.
Yeah, nice.
And, typical, he's got the blue blazer on, the grey trousers.
Yeah, nice.
And tie and spoke very well. And when we got there, he said, I said, are you paying by card, sir? Yes. What I'd like to do, he said, I'd like to pay by card. So he's reached through the window, and that's for you, Sonny. That's for you.
Nice.
I thought such old school.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, that's how
really
they were.
Nice,
that's how they were. I think the gentleman, it was quite old. I think he'd probably had that £10 note for 3 years, and he's somewhere in his old strides or whatever. Yeah. So it's there.
Been waiting for someone to be a bit chatty with him.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, look, it was an amazing event. I mean, I've just about cleaned the dust off me. I mean, it took about 59 showers. It was just a bit of a...
But the car wash couldn't believe it when I went round there and they seen the state of my cab.
You should have seen ours. But, we did sort of say at one point, call it Dust Fest. But apart from that, it was a brilliant event. Everyone who came down was so positive.
What was the feedback from say drivers that might have the meter but not got the system?
Yeah, so someone said to me yesterday, why would other drivers go down there when they haven't got the meter or haven't got the system? We had loads of drivers come and have a look. Like, some of them even took tip seats and who didn't have the system. It was unreal. Like, honestly, I couldn't believe it. There's a lot of Digitax customers.
Picking up any cards. Have you got any cards in the car?
I have got loads. Yeah. There was a lot of Digitax customers who had the system, who came and didn't need the update.
Yeah.
But they wanted the tip seats to advertise because they're getting jobs through it. Most people that I spoke to, I'd say 99% of the people I spoke to had already had a job.
Well, I was speaking to...
Which is unreal. 3 months?
Ian
Gray, yeah.
Ian Gray.
Lovely man.
Ian was at Cab Vision.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's obviously got one of your cabs now because his cab come off the road.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to him yesterday and I said, how are you getting on with... Because, I'm still... And he said, I'm finding it really good. He said, I'm really liking it.
Yeah.
And he actually said, I'm finding that I'm getting far bigger tips or far more tips as well with this system. He said it's outweighing the extra cost.
And this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, my tips cover this and my tips cover that. Well, you get more tips on this system. It goes above the meter. Yeah. Like I've seen the staff at Taxi World go through so many scenarios with cab drivers, and none of them can come back and prove that they're earning more on other systems. Yeah. They just can't. I spoke to someone the other day who says that he for all the little jobs he'll use another card system because he doesn't want to pay the commission on the small jobs. But on the small jobs, that gets rounded up. Yeah. The algorithm looks at it.
It's a short-sighted attitude.
Well, but it's not. It's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I don't criticise him. He's not wrong because that's what he's used to. You know. And every driver that I've had to sell the system to come over, because obviously I had to change a lot of cabs, and they were happy with this previous system I had. It was it was me that wasn't, because I'll be honest, I wanted the Taxi World system because it helped me manage my fleet, because of all the other back end stuff it does.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to my classman about that, because you can track where all the cabs are and things like that.
It's not about tracking them.
No, but it gives you information. Yeah.
It's about the information that it gives you about mileages, MOTs coming up, servicing schedules. If they get stolen, if some silly bastard leaves his keys in the cab
and it gets nicked,
you
can track the cab.
Yeah. Guilty. That was me.
You had a cab nicked?
Yeah, it was my own fault. I left the key in it. We've all done it. I just got caught out. Accident footage. That's the most important thing.
Well, I was just going to come to that.
That's the most important
thing. The cameras. It's like, You know, that's one thing that people are not taking. I mean, to buy a system like that's uploaded
Approved.
to the cloud and approved, you're looking at £400 or £500.
Yeah, and then running it.
Yeah,
There's someone there running it for you. So as soon as there's an accident, my driver presses the accident button, fills in a little form, and it's like providing everything's all working correctly. That footage is captured straight away and is sent to me the next morning or within the half. As long as the ignition's on, it's uploading. So I've got the footage, goes to my insurance company, dealt with. You know, all that stuff is protecting your investment. So if you're a musher, you're protecting your investment. If you're a fleet, you're protecting more than one investment. So that was why I wanted it. But at the same time, as a driver, which I am as well, I saw the benefits of the tipping algorithm because it was explained to me and I understood it. And I used it for a couple of months and I understood it. I had it in a couple of my cabs and I tested it, and I realised that I was learning more through it. So it's what I keep saying, the word, it's bespoke. It's bespoke for the fleet and it's bespoke for the driver. They've captured everything. So I just feel like it's the right thing for us. And then bringing on Jump afterwards to fight against all these apps that are basically in debt and they're taking money off the customers. They're taking money off the drivers. When you sell that to the customer in the back of the cab and you tell them the state, they don't look into it. They don't look into it.
As soon as you say to a customer there's no extra charges, it's sold.
And then you get into a conversation. They go, how do they do it? Some of them ask, why are they doing it? Why are they charging me booking fee? Why are they charging me technology fee? I said, because they owe money. They owe money to their VCs.
And the other thing,
this company doesn't owe a penny to anyone.
Yeah. The other thing you got to remember with other credit card providers and other apps is you're supplying the equipment for it.
Your phone
and your own data.
Correct.
And which is you're not doing with the taxi world system.
You're not.
And you know, I know that people.
That is really important. That's what I said about the meter working with the app. Yeah.
But you will get some people that will say, oh, you know, you're going to get those that say, oh, it let me down. It's a mobile phone signal. You know, your own phone. You know, it's what gets me when people say, oh, you know, like Cabvision let me down. Well, no, it's your phone that's let you down, mate. It's not Cabvision.
Yeah, it's not their equipment.
It's not their equipment.
As far as it goes, like as a built-in connection system, Cabvision's very good. I've got nothing negative to say about the system at all. I just think that this is best for everyone because it gives us all the things we need in our working environment.
Yeah.
Without any stress. You know, you haven't got to use your phone, have you?
No.
For anything. You haven't got to touch your phone. And I believe that's because a lot of people are saying it, and this is the other thing that worries me a little bit about the knowledge. And I'm not the best, trust me, you'll see when that video comes out of me fighting against them students. We are forgetting our knowledge by running with these apps because we're following that line, yeah? Because I speak to people and they go, oh, but I don't know where I'm going. And sometimes when I'm sitting in traffic, I've got to work out where I'm going. That's your job. And the reason, I believe the reason why they've not put the map down there is because they don't want you looking down there, following it. So if you want to have a map up, you have to put it on your phone, wouldn't you? Google Maps or Waze.
So what would you say to anyone that was thinking about changing?
Don't rush. No rush. I believe that... and I said the same about, funny enough, I said the same when I was promoting the TXE when it first came out. There's no rush because we've got enough people on the circuit to cover the work at the moment and enough people are selling it. You don't have to jump in right now. I just don't think there's any rush at all. I think it's more about educating the drivers that are on the system and on the circuit already. It ain't going anywhere. It's a long-term thing. We're not going to just dip in and dip out and sell up and all these things that are being said. I mean, one of my drivers come to me and he goes, yeah, Paul, but it's just really good. I love it. You know, brilliant. And I love that you're involved and you're pushing it, blah, blah, blah. But you know what's going to happen. It's like, what's going to happen? They're going to sell out to Uber or someone like that. I'm on, come on, man. I mean, what is Uber going to do with Taxi World system? I know they want to get taxis on their circuit. I get that. But it don't work. It's not the same. It's just a completely different product. It doesn't work for private hire. And even if the worst happened, even if You know, they did 4 years of this, built it all up, made it amazing. 4 or 5 years minimum, and they did go and sell it. In that 4 and 5 years, when you've had free, no commission, you've earned all this money. You know, I can't guarantee anything. I'm just someone who supports it, that thinks it's good for the future. Our future.
The only thing those with the long-term view might.
But I don't think they will. I really don't.
That you know, you're basically giving the customers to them, and if they was going to sell, and that I think that's what people are frightened of, because they've done this in the past. Drivers have done this in the past with other apps where they've.
No, I hear that.
You know, they've given. You know, they've converted customers into using the app, and then those customers, these apps have taken on private hire vehicles and have ultimately lost.
But no one owns them customers. They're not owned by anyone.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not. But if it was
and they're not going for data. They're not. No. They're not building data.
No,
they just send a receipt to anyone. Yeah. Because this is the other thing, right? They're all these people that they're bringing in and building this customer base from. They're not taking their details. They're not holding their card details. No. They're not holding their. I held a cab as Gino De Campo. You know, because his name came in my head because he was in the news, and it came. You know, so they're going to look at my number and my name, Gino, and then they're going to. So they're not building up a customer base. They're just building a hailing app that I believe is a apply for hire app. I honestly believe that, and I know there's a little debate on that as well. There was a bit of a debate on that a few months ago between the orgs, right? But I honestly believe it's, and I don't care about what legislation someone's going to pull a book out and go. That don't matter to me. That's what I believe, and I think a lot of drivers agree with me on that, because that's what it does. It brings you the nearest cab. It sees around the corner, doesn't it? Whereas, all right, the arm doesn't. But it does the same. It does the same action. And sometimes you'll pull over. Someone will flag you, and you'll pull over and go. They'll go, "Oh, I want to go so and so," and you'll say, "You're not fit to come, mate." And then you'll drive off. So you won't do every job that you get hailed. It's the same as this. Sometimes you'll get cancelled. I think it does the same job, and it's the only thing that's closest this to doing the same job as any other app. Yeah. And you can't pre-book on this app. You won't be able to. They're not doing it.
It's funny because when I was up at the Knowledge Academy, Sandro.
Oh yeah.
Said that he got a job yesterday from St John's Wood to Heathrow on it.
Did he? I bet he got ready for it. Did he get ready for it?
No, I think they paid on the card.
Ah, well, he had to pay the card commission, but he would have done on the street, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You know, and every driver that drives one of my taxis and maybe one of Michael's, they all pay that charge, but they're all getting it covered by their tips. So they're getting the meter value for all their jobs. If they're chucking a handheld through, they've got to sell that tip themselves. It's not easy, and it can be embarrassing. You know, it can be very embarrassing when you've come to the end of the job. You don't know who's in your cab. You never know who they are and who they work for. They're going to that machine, and then someone's handing that one through there. Yeah. It ain't professional. All right, there's a debate on whether we're allowed to use handhelds, whether we should be allowed to use it, but we're not. That's where we are.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a great. Any piece of equipment used to accept a credit card has to be PCI compliant, which PCI compliancy regulations far outweigh anything TfL are ever going to come up with. So, in reality, a driver should be allowed to use whatever they want. Agreed. But I take on point what Lorenzo said the other day. Yeah. You know, when the system is fitted in the back of the cab, it gives the customer that bit of reassurance that it's a legit system rather than being a handheld thing. You know, with all the people, you know, card skimming and things like that. Yeah.
So cloning.
Yeah. Because what's going to happen?
Because if I was coming from a different country, because I had a weekend away, I went to Istanbul, lovely place, and if they had a system in the back, and their cab drivers are dangerous, by the way. It was hard work, but he passed the thing through the over to me because there's no partition or anything, and it didn't look good. Like, it was like one of them ones where you used to go, you don't, because you're foreign, you don't know what you're getting. Well, yeah, I mean,
only the dodgy finger through.
It didn't look right, and I think people coming from other countries think that don't feel right.
Yeah.
And look, like you said, don't necessarily agree with it, but it's just where we are.
Yeah.
We just got to run with things. We can't keep fighting and not doing our job professionally.
Yeah.
You know, that's it really. I mean, the other thing they did was they put the charge on me. Someone said that to me the other day, which I think is fair enough, to be honest.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
We used to do that. We used to have a 10% charge on the credit card.
But then are you going to get the tip? Did you get the tips as well?
Not well. You know, you talk about. I mean, I'm going back to the early days of credit cards. I mean, I've taken credit cards in the cab for 34 years.
Really?
So when
I did it from
you used
day
to
one.
when you used to have the old
10.
thing where you used to have to like
Yeah.
rub it with a pencil to get the thing to come out. You
Yeah.
know. So, but I mean, when I first, and people say, oh, why are you taking credit cards? And the amount of times, you know, 34 years ago, that got me out of trouble, especially with young girls of a night.
Yeah.
You know, on a Friday night, they go, oh, can we stop at a cash point? You go to a cash point, they're all run out of money.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, you get there and you go, oh, I'll take a credit card.
I've always said, why give people an excuse not to pay you?
Yeah.
Don't do it. But I didn't want a tip. His driving was terrible. He added 11% on for the credit card, so I wasn't going to leave a tip as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. You can't have both ways.
Yeah.
You can't expect to add 5% on for your card and then ask for a tip as well. It's like adding a service charge on at the restaurant and then asking for a tip on top. They do that in the States.
Yeah.
You know, but I just don't think it's going to work here.
No.
So you just gotta be a little bit more diplomatic with your customers and the systems you use, and you know, see it for what it really is. And like I said to you as well earlier, you know, and you asked me about what advice would I give, there's no rush. See how things go. See if the work goes like that, then of course, then you'd want to be on it. But at the moment, it's trickling along. People are selling it because they believe in it. Let's see how it goes. No rush.
Yeah.
You know.